It's when he reaches out with his left arm to make the tackle on special teams, that's when the injury occurs. Welcome back everyone, my name is Dr. Stephen Wilson, and if you're new to this channel, here we analyze the mechanisms of sports injuries. So if that's the type of content that interests you, then please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. It was Monday night when Markquese of the Dallas Cowboys goes down the field to make a tackle on special teams, and that's when he incurs the left shoulder injury. So in this video, we're going to analyze the media footage available and to see if we can try and determine exactly, perhaps maybe what did happen to his shoulder. Let's look at the replay. So what we're seeing here is number 14 of the Dallas Cowboys, Markquese. He's going down the field to make the tackle on special teams, and he makes a diving effort here to make an arm tackle with his left arm on the Texans' number 31, the returner there. When doing so, he falls to the ground and is injured on the play. This next angle here shows us a better indication of perhaps what's going on here. So here we see the Texans return man with the ball and the Cowboys number 14, Bell, going down to make the tackle. So what we want to pay attention to here is the left side of Bell's upper body when he makes the tackle. Here we can pretty much see hopefully what happened here. So he tries to make the arm tackle, but what is occurring in this moment is Bell's left arm, it is extended outwards and then it's being pushed back by the returner. So there's a forced load going back against the forearm of Bell's left arm, forcing his arm into abduction and what we would call external rotation. Anytime you combine those two movements together, you are going to place your shoulder in a very unstable and a very vulnerable position. And it is vulnerable for instability. We can almost see, if you take a look at his armpit right there, you can almost see on the replay here, that's the moment when the injury occurs. We can almost see his humeral head move forward in that motion. Right there, his hand gets forced back into that unstable, that apprehensive position there. And there we can clearly see his left arm extending and externally rotating back behind him, causing what we call an anterior shoulder dislocation to his left side here. And then right there, again, his left shoulder pointing forwards, his left hand back behind his head, fully externally rotated and abducted here. The continuation of the play has him grabbing for his left arm. You can consider perhaps an elbow injury here, but typically when you have a dislocated elbow, that occurs like on a fall on an outstretched hand with your elbow straight or an extended position. It was reported by the media later on tonight that it was indeed a left shoulder injury, most likely from what we're seeing on the replay here, likely what would be determined as an anterior dislocation here. We're going to correlate with what we see here with the relevant anatomy so we can more fully understand exactly what is happening to Bell's shoulder here in this moment. So we'll use the skeleton model here so we can better understand exactly what's going on with Bell's shoulder. We are taking a look at the skeleton on the left side, the left shoulder, so we're going to zoom in here. So just to landmark here, of course, we had the skull at the top and the cervical spine. This long bone coming across the horizontal bone here, that's your clavicle or your collarbone. And then we have the arm bone, the upper arm bone of the humerus attaching into the socket here. So essentially we have the ball of the humeral head, and then we have the socket in which it inserts into. Again, we're going to zoom in. We'll take a nice close look. You know, some people sometimes they do confuse a dislocated shoulder with a separated shoulder. A separated shoulder has to do with this joint right here. It's called your acromioclavicular joint. It's where your collarbone meets up with your scapula or your shoulder blade on the front here. It's called your acromion, and it's that joint. If that becomes injured, that would be a separated shoulder. But what we're dealing with here is called a dislocated shoulder. That is the actual ball and the socket. The majority of shoulder dislocations are actually forward or anterior dislocations. So we're going to take a look at the shoulder, the ball and socket joint here from the outside on the left. We'll really zoom in here. So I do want to orient you just a little bit here. Again, there is the clavicle, that's the acromion of the shoulder blade, and what we're dealing with here is the humeral head or the ball inside the socket. Now what we saw when Bell's left arm was outstretched and then pushed back behind him in an externally rotated position, that's going to force the head of the humerus to travel in this motion, going anteriorly and coming out of the socket. When that happens, when we talk about the socket of the shoulder joint, it's called the glenoid, and you have a very important cartilage ring called the labrum that allows the ball inside the socket to move and to glide very smoothly. Now, when the head of the humerus comes out of the socket, it can damage that labrum. If any damage to the labrum occurs, we'd call that a slap lesion. Or if the head of the humerus comes out, it can damage the bone of the fossa of the socket. We would call that a bony Bankart. And the head of the humerus, that would be a Hill-Sachs injury. All of those are significant injuries to the shoulder, not to mention the soft tissue that holds the actual head of the humerus inside the socket. Those are your rotator cuff tendons, your subscapularis, your infraspinatus, your supraspinatus, your teres minor. They all have a very important role of holding the ball inside the socket. If the ball comes out of the socket, it can compromise those tendons. Thank you very much for watching tonight. I do appreciate your time. Hopefully this was interesting and we did learn something from it. Please have a great night.